Barbara, can you check the server logs from that March audit? Grayson's legal asked about a timestamp and Drew can't find it. That was at 9:14 a.m. By 9:22, I'd already pulled the logs, cross-verified the document ID, and sent the exact timestamp with a screenshot, a backup PDF, and a list of everyone who accessed the file in the last 12 months. No one said thank you. They rarely did. 17 years in this firm, and I still had to remind interns how to save a PDF correctly. I was the ghost in the machine, the shadow fixer, the person whose name only came up when something broke or something didn't, and they didn't know which was worse. But Grayson Defense knew. Grayson didn't tolerate sloppiness. They were a government-facing client with a spine made of legal clauses and a heartbeat driven by trust. And I was their trust. I was the only reason we still held that $50 million renewal after the 2016 year breach. I was the reason their auditors no longer asked for pre-calls. The contracts were structured around me. Literally. After the vendor mix-up 8 years ago, Grayson's general counsel rewrote Clause 11.2 to mandate that only I, Barbara K. Fulton, could authorize the strategic account sign-off. No one in this office read beyond slide decks anymore. I didn't dress loud. I didn't post Slack emojis. I didn't circle back or touch base. I just showed up, did my job better than anyone else in the building, and went home to my cat, my Kindle, and my slightly overwatered fiddle leaf fig. I was 54, single by choice, and kept a small stash of bourbon in my credenza behind a fake cough drop box. My wins weren't celebrated, they were assumed. Drew changed that. He came in like a startup fever dream, buttoned shirt too tight around the arms, talking in acronyms and acting like PowerPoint was a personality. Strategic Accounts VP, imported from some firm in Boston with a lowercase name and a neon logo. The kind of place where they call mass layoffs talent realignment. Within a week, he was best friends with Lindsay from marketing, who also happened to be the CEO's niece. By week 3, my calendar invites started vanishing like socks in a dryer. But I didn't push back, I documented. Every invite removed, every email I was looped out of, every time my reports were summarized and sent without credit. I wasn't being paranoid, I was preparing. Side note, since you're here and still listening, if stories like this hit home, or if you've ever had a Drew erase your name from a win you carried solo, take a second to subscribe or tap that like. It actually helps the team bring more of these stories to light. And frankly, some of us find this therapeutic. Anyway, back to Tuesday morning. I was finishing a call with Grayson's project lead, Joel, about rollout timelines when I noticed something odd. The new internal doc portal, the one Drew championed, listed him as the primary contact for Grayson. Not me. I refreshed it, checked the metadata. It actually changed the contract archive naming convention. My initials were gone. No one told me, no one asked. Joel didn't sound concerned. As long as you're still on the signature line, Barbara, we're good. We trust you. I smiled, but my stomach tightened. That afternoon, Drew's assistant accidentally booked my desk space out to a new junior hire for Q1. Oh, must have been a system glitch. Sure, the week after. Lindsay sent out a holiday project alignment email to the entire strategic accounts team. I wasn't on it. The subject line read, Christmas roster final. Final, cute, and that's how it started. Not with fireworks, not with screaming matches, with absence, with little deletions. My erasure began in lowercase, but they forgot something important. I may not have had their spotlight, but I had the pen. Drew Thompson arrived on a Monday with the kind of handshake that lasted 2 seconds too long, and a cologne that said, I mistake confidence for competence. He introduced himself at the all-hands by saying, let's disrupt some silos, and I knew right then I was screwed. He wore all birds and carried a MacBook like it was a trophy. He called our weekly planning sessions stand-ups even though no one stood. Within 3 days, he had installed a new Slack bot named Pulsey that asked people how they were feeling every morning and rewarded collaborative vibes with emoji badges. By day 5, he was taking Lindsay from marketing out for brainstorm lattes and name-dropping her uncle, the CEO, like it was part of his compensation package. I watched him circle our team like a vulture that did CrossFit. He never asked questions, just assumed authority. I'd spent 17 years building the Grayson account into a stable, low-friction pipeline that ran like a Swiss watch, and this guy was already talking about shaking the tree and disrupting legacy handoffs. Legacy handoffs, that was me. I was the damn tree. On Wednesday, he scheduled a sync with me to align account trajectories. I came prepared with a full breakdown of current deliverables, the timeline for the renewal, open items flagged by Grayson's procurement, the escalation paths I'd built over the years. He didn't read any of it. He smiled like he was interviewing me for a role I already had. Barbara, I want you to really lean out of the weeds. Empower the new team. You've earned that altitude, right? I didn't blink. You're saying I should remove myself from Grayson? He chuckled like I'd misunderstood the gospel. Not remove. Elevate. Let Lindsay and Dylan lead the renewal pitch. New blood shows momentum. I've seen tornadoes in Ohio with less spin than that sentence. That afternoon, I checked the recurring calendar invites I'd maintained for over a decade. Grayson weekly check-in, vendor sync, audit prep, SLA review, and saw that I'd been removed from 5 of them. No notification. Just gone. I didn't confront him. I just opened a new folder on my desktop, KM changelog. Every removed invite went in. Every forwarded thread with my name scrubbed from the to line. Every document rebranded with Dylan Final when I was the one who wrote the damn thing. Then came the weird part. Drew started dropping hints. Subtle digs during meetings. Barbara's got the historicals, but we're looking forward now. Or, we don't need to reinvent the wheel unless the wheel's been static. Lindsay giggled. Dylan nodded like a bobblehead with a minor concussion. I watched them replace quality with quantity PowerPoints with 7 fonts, one-liners with no substance. They were spray painting strategy over a foundation I built with sweat and post-its and late-night compliance calls. And the higher-ups, they loved it because it looked like action, looked like change. But Grayson didn't care about motion. They cared about control. And Drew was about to find out what happens when you mistake noise for leverage. By Friday, I'd become a relic. People stopped asking me about policy updates. The junior team, some of whom I'd mentored, started routing questions to Lindsay. And then came the Christmas party invite list. We got it via HR Slack. Please confirm your availability for the Strategic Accounts holiday dinner. RSVP by noon. I wasn't on the CC list. I clicked on the shared doc. My name wasn't there. Later that day, Lindsay walked past my desk, holding an envelope of branded holiday cards, humming Jingle Bell Rock. Drew trailed behind her, balancing 2 peppermint mochas and saying, "We'll keep it lean this year, only the core folks." He caught my eye, grinned, and added, "Streamlined roster." Gotta love it. I didn't answer. Instead, I added one more item to the KM changelog, Deck 15 Final Holiday Invite List. Barbara Fulton omitted. Then I opened my inbox and submitted a PTO request for the week of the Grayson renewal signing. Let's see how the core folks do without me. It was a Thursday morning, 2 weeks before Christmas, and the team meeting had all the fake cheer of a mall Santa with a court date. We were gathered in Conference B, where someone had laid out lukewarm Starbucks travelers and a tray of shortbread cookies that tasted like printer paper. Drew stood at the front with his sleeves rolled up like he'd just come from saving a kitten, grinning that same toothpaste commercial smile. "All right, team," he said, clapping his hands once like a middle school PE coach. "We've got the Grayson renewal coming in hot, the Q1 roadmap locked, and holiday bonuses tied to project rollouts. That means we need all hands on deck, well, most hands." A couple chuckles. Lindsay smirked into her latte. Then Drew turned to me. "You're off the Christmas roster, Barbara," he said with the casual venom of someone who's practiced being cruel in front of a mirror. "Take some time. Recharge. You've earned a break." My pen paused mid-note. I looked up, met his eyes. The room went quiet in that sterile way that says everyone heard but no one would admit it. "Understood," I said simply. I didn't flinch, didn't ask for clarification, didn't remind him that I'd built the Christmas rollout template 5 years ago when Lindsay still thought VPN was a boy band. I just sat there, notebook open, page half-filled, and absorbed the blow like a sponge made of steel. He moved on, talking about synergy vectors and client delight. I started making a list on the bottom of the page. Deck 14th. Removed from rollout team, Deck 10th. Off holiday bonus thread, NOV 30th. Calendar purge confirmed. NOV 23rd. Audit packet sent without review, Oct 18th. Drew updated org chart, removed my name from Grayson lead. The pattern wasn't a coincidence. It was a phase-out. And I'd seen one before, just not from someone dumb enough to do it during a $50 million renewal with a client who required my literal, non-negotiable signature. After the meeting, Lindsay brushed past me in the hallway with a wink and a whispered, "Enjoy the holidays," like I was some school secretary being handed early retirement and a scented candle. Back at my desk, I opened the HR portal. PTO request, December 1923. Reason, personal. I clicked submit, then closed my laptop with the kind of finality you usually reserve for a coffin lid. No one asked why. No one even acknowledged it. The next few days were full of final pushes and alignment check-ins, none of which included me. I started getting email threads forwarded by mistake, subject lines like Grayson Deck Final 2, PPTX with body text that made it clear nobody had read the contract. They were planning for Lindsay to sign on our end. Clause 11.2, strategic renewals over $10M must be signed by the original account custodian, Barbara K. Fulton, unless 90 days notice and client countersignature are provided in writing. I helped write that clause after the vendor gate disaster in 2015. Joel from Grayson insisted on it, because trust wasn't just verbal, it was procedural. They'd erased me from the holiday playlist, but forgot I was still the damn DJ. That weekend, I took my work phone and powered it off. The office had become a parody of itself, Drew strutting around like a budget Musk, Lindsay tweeting inspirational quotes about leadership while failing to notice that her own presentation decks had typos in the footers. I spent Sunday evening in my sunroom, tea in hand, watching the first snow dust the tops of the hedges. My cat Minerva purred against my leg. I opened a drawer and pulled out a hard copy of the Grayson contract. Page 37, Clause Clause 11.2. I underlined it in red Sharpie. Then I drafted an email to myself titled, Contingency Plan Execution Ready. The subject line of the original Grayson proposal still sat in my archive. Trust is a signature, not a speech. They would learn that. Soon. The snow was still melting off the Kepler Moss front steps when the Grayson defense delegation arrived, 4 of them in tailored coats and blunt expressions that said, let's skip the warm-up. They weren't the kind of client who smiled at icebreaker slides or accepted sparkling water instead of coffee. They had mission-critical contracts, deliverables wrapped in federal compliance, and zero tolerance for bullshit. At 9 a.m. sharp, they were ushered into the executive boardroom, where Drew had rearranged the chairs to create what he smugly called a collaborative horseshoe. Lindsay stood near the whiteboard with a marker. Dylan sat next to a stack of printouts he didn't understand, and Drew was bouncing on his heels like a man about to host a TED talk that nobody asked for. Welcome, welcome. He beamed as Joel Mendez, Grayson's lead negotiator, stepped in and placed a thick leather-bound folder on the table. Joel didn't shake hands, didn't smile, just nodded. We're here for the signing, he said. Final version is as discussed. All that's left is execution. Drew nodded so hard I thought his neck might snap. Absolutely. Seamless process. Lindsay's prepared the decks for the upcoming rollout. Dylan will walk you through updates since Q3, and we'll have your files notarized and returned by close of day. Joel opened the folder, slow and deliberate. The contract was printed on secure watermark paper, pages dog-eared from review. He flipped to the back, stopped, and slid the document across the polished oak table. Signature line was pre-printed in bold, black serif font. Barbara K. Fulton, Strategic Account Custodian. Joel's eyes lifted, calm but direct. Where's Barbara? Drew blinked. Barbara's currently on personal leave, but I'll be handling the sign-off on her behalf. Everything's in order. Joel didn't move the folder. Clause 11.2 states the signer must be the original account custodian. That's Barbara. Lindsay jumped in, voice sugar-coated and useless. We've made some internal leadership updates. Drew's now heading strategic accounts, and Barbara's role has shifted more into advisory capacity. But of course, our quality remains top tier. Joel closed the folder, still calm. I didn't ask about your org chart. I asked where Barbara is, because unless she's dead or in witness protection, we need her signature. Dylan tried to recover with a joke, something about resurrecting Barbara by EOD, but the silence that followed was terminal. Joel glanced at the younger man like he was a mosquito that had just interrupted a funeral. Drew cleared his throat, tapping his tablet with fingers that now twitched at the edges. We've spoken with legal and believe we can. Joel cut him off. You believe incorrectly. We drafted Clause 11.2 after your 2015 mishap, when the vendor you appointed breached protocol and exposed classified timelines. Barbara negotiated that clause at our request. No Barbara, no contract. I imagine it was around that moment that Drew began to truly sweat. Not performance sweat, not pitch sweat, collapse sweat. The kind that soaks through a button down and stains the truth into your armpits. Lindsay looked like she wanted to evaporate into her pastel blazer. Drew scrambled. I'll get her on the phone. We can fast-track a remote signature. DocuSign? Maybe, no, Joel said flatly. Clause 11.2b requires in-person signature or a notarized wet copy delivered by the original custodian. And it must be done today. He stood. We'll be at the Union Hotel across the street. You have until 5 p.m. to produce Barbara Fulton with a pen in her hand. He didn't wait for response. The other 3 Grayson reps stood and followed him out, leaving behind the open contract, the untouched coffee, and the remains of Drew's illusion of control. Back in the boardroom, silence stretched like a bad omen. Then Lindsay muttered, "Does anyone have her number?" Drew didn't respond. He just stared at the name on the contract like it had personally betrayed him. Barbara K. Fulton. Turns out when you spend weeks erasing someone from the roster, you should double-check whose name is printed in permanent ink. Back at Kepler Moss HQ, the calm that had cloaked the office like corporate wallpaper cracked like a dropped wine glass. The moment the Grayson team walked out, Drew exploded into movement, slapping his tablet on the table and barking into Slack like it owed him child support. Legal was summoned within 5 minutes. 4 of them showed up, still clutching bagels, confused as hell and already defensive. Okay, said Mandy from compliance, dragging her laptop cable behind her like a leash. Clause 11.2 is a named signatory clause. It's not ambiguous. If Barbara doesn't sign this in person or wet ink with a notary, Grayson can walk. Full stop. Drew's eye twitched. What if someone else signs and we backdate it? We could have Lindsay or Dylan. Nope. Mandy didn't even look up. It has to be Barbara. And Grayson knows it. They wrote the clause. I've got the revision history and the red lines to prove it. Lindsay, now 5 shades of panic under her bronzer, piped up. But I mean, we're the ones doing the work now, right? Can't we just sign and tell them Barbara approved it informally? Mandy didn't bother hiding her eye roll. Yeah, and then we can roll up the contract into a paper airplane and throw it out the window. It won't hold. Drew pinched the bridge of his nose. Call her. I've already pinged her, Lindsay said, staring at her phone like it owed her an apology. 3 texts, all marked as read. No reply. She's ghosting us? Dylan asked, his voice cracking. What if she left? She submitted PTO, Mandy said flatly. Legally, we can't compel her to do jack. Meanwhile, at 9:43 a.m., I was in my sunroom with a second cup of Darjeeling and a cat on my lap. My phone vibrated once then again. I flipped its screen down on the table and kept reading. I'd started The Art of War again, felt appropriate. Drew tried calling next. I didn't answer. They sent an email, urgent, signature request please advise ASAP. I marked it unread and took another sip of tea. Then legal tried a Hail Mary. They pulled in an intern from contracts, Zoe, sweet girl, smart, 3 months into the job and still thinking she could change the world with a well-formatted spreadsheet. Lindsay handed her the pen and said, "You'll be acting as proxy signer. We'll say Barbara authorized it before PTO." Zoe looked terrified. "Is that legal?" "Gray area," Drew said. "Just sign it." The signed copy was couriered across the street in a blue folder with a handwritten note that read, "Per verbal approval from Barbara Fulton, signature enclosed." 30 minutes later, the folder came back, untouched. A single yellow post-it on the cover in sharp, lawyerly print, Clause 11.2, must be signed by original account custodian. Verbal equals void. Joel, that's all it said. At 11:15 a.m., Drew stormed into legal again. Sweating through his shirt, "We have to fix this. Get Grayson's legal on the phone. Offer them an override, a notarized affidavit, something." Mandy looked up from her laptop with the weariness of someone who's seen 3 reorgs and survived a hostile merger. "What you need is Barbara, not a workaround, not a loophole, not a notary. You need Barbara Fulton with a pen in this building by 5 p.m. Lindsay slumped into a chair, mascara smudged at the corners. "She's doing this on purpose." Drew snapped, "She's punishing us. They were right. I wasn't punishing them by accident. I was giving them exactly what they asked for: silence, absence, elevation." I ignored 2 more calls. A Slack DM popped up from Dylan. "Hey Barbara, hope you're well." Smiling face with smiling eyes. "Quick Q, any chance you could swing by HQ today?" Folded hands, I closed the app. Then came the desperate reach-outs, a flower delivery, cheap tulips. Uber Eats order with a note, "We're sorry. Please sign." It was a Cobb salad, no dressing. Passive aggression in raw main form. I opened a blank sticky note on my desktop and typed, 3 texts, 2 calls, 1 forged signature, 1 Cobb salad, still no accountability by 2 p.m. The team had split into chaos cells. Drew was pacing like a man negotiating a hostage situation where he was the hostage. Lindsay was refreshing her phone every 5 seconds, as if sheer willpower could conjure my reply. Legal had given up and was now watching the clock like it was a countdown to execution. And I opened a tin of shortbread cookies, the kind that actually taste like butter, and put on a lo-fi jazz playlist. Minerva curled up in my lap again. I was at peace, because they hadn't just underestimated me. They'd bet everything on forgetting me. By 3:07 p.m., the boardroom at Kepler Moss had begun to take on the scent of doom, an odd mix of stale coffee, nervous sweat, and paper being flipped too fast by people trying to read what they should have already known. Drew had summoned what he called an all-leads critical alignment, code for someone screwed up, and I'm trying to make it not be me. The CEO was there. That alone said everything. Cameron Moss hadn't been seen outside of investor calls or golf charity galas in 6 months, and now here he was, perched at the head of the table like a disappointed dad called in to fix a group project gone nuclear. He looked crisp in a dark suit, silver cufflinks shaped like dollar signs, and the hollow eyes of a man who just learned his niece might have detonated a $50 million relationship before Q4 bonuses. "Explain," he said. Drew jumped in with his usual circus of buzzwords. "We've had an unexpected delay in the Grayson finalization due to signatory logistics. We're executing rapid alternatives and exploring authorized proxies within strategic compliance thresholds." Mandy from legal didn't even blink. Translation: Barbara Fulton is on PTO. We forged a workaround. Grayson caught it. They're rejecting any substitute. Cameron's eyes narrowed. "So she's refusing to sign?" "No," Mandy replied, calm as a priest delivering last rites. "She's just not here. And per clause 11.2, she's the only one allowed to sign." She tapped her laptop, turned it toward the room, and read, "No authorized signer may be substituted for the strategic account custodian without 90-day written notice to Grayson defense and written countersignature from said client. Failure to comply invalidates any executed contract." Silence fell like a guillotine. You could hear the HVAC hum. Then Cameron, in a voice as flat as a canceled check, said, "How the hell did no one catch this?" Drew's mouth opened, then closed, then opened again like a fish gasping for credibility. "We assumed, we thought." "Don't tell me what you thought," Cameron snapped. "Tell me how we're going to prevent our longest-standing client from walking out that door." Today, Lindsay, who looked like she hadn't blinked since breakfast, offered we could incentivize Barbara to return early. Maybe frame it as a team appreciation moment, a soft approach. Drew looked like he might cry. "We sent her food." Mandy barked a laugh. "You sent her salad." "The woman who used to keep bourbon in a Raflu bottle." Cameron turned slowly toward Drew. "You removed her from the project roster?" "I streamlined our structure for agility. Cut out the one person whose name is on the damn contract." Cameron rubbed his temples like he could massage the stupidity out of the room. Then, as if on cue, Drew's phone buzzed. He looked down. Paled. "It's Joel," he said. "Grayson's lead. He's asking if the board is prepared to void the renewal and renegotiate through Rinaldi and Stokes." Mandy sat straighter. "They're talking to Rinaldi? That's our competitor. That's death." Lindsay made a soft noise, part whimper, part disbelief. "We're going to lose the account." Cameron exhaled slowly, like trying to release a demon through his nostrils. "Get Barbara, pay her, beg her. I don't care if you have to send a limousine, a mariachi band, and a handwritten apology dipped in gold. Fix it." Meanwhile, at 3:13 p.m., I was folding laundry. The lo-fi jazz had shifted into light piano. I paused to pick a piece of lint from Minerva's tail and sipped my third cup of tea. My phone buzzed again. "Sixth time today, Drew this time. Barbara, please, we need to talk. Urgent." I was out of line. "Let's fix this together." I marked it unread and continued folding. He could talk to my PTO policy. It was stapled to the wall calendar above my desk. They wanted me back, they could write a new clause, and this time it'd be mine. The first voicemail came at 6:47 p.m. on day 1. Drew, trying to sound calm, professional, collaborative. He started with, "Hey Barbara, just wanted to circle back, see if we can align and maybe," and then trailed off into a panic-stifled ramble about shared priorities and mutual outcomes. I deleted it without listening to the last 10 seconds. The second one came at 7:12 p.m. It was Dylan. He tried to joke his way through it. "Hey B, quick cue, any chance you're near a pen and a fax machine? Haha, just kidding, unless you're not." I let it play all the way through, then added his number to do not disturb. By 9:00 p.m., there were 7 voicemails in total, 2 from Drew, 1 from Lindsay, 3 from legal, and 1 mystery message that was just 15 seconds of silence followed by a very soft, very pitiful, "Please day 2 started early." At 7:03 a.m., a call from a blocked number. I let it go to voicemail. Drew again. This time the comm had cracked. His voice was sharp. "Urgent, Barbara, we're facing serious exposure here. I need you to be a team player. You don't want to be the reason this implodes." I made eggs, took a long shower. Did yoga for the first time in 6 months. When I checked again at 10:22 a.m., there were 14 voicemails. By noon, 21, all caps, misspelled texts, Slack messages from people I hadn't heard from in years. Even the VP of Finance reached out, asking if I had just 5 minutes for a quick bridge call. Lindsay's voicemail came around 3:00 p.m., and it was a masterpiece of chaos. At first, she tried the sweet voice, like we were old friends reconnecting. "Barbs, I just want to say I'm so sorry if there were, mixed signals about your role. You are so valued and we just, need your light right now." Then the tears started. Actual tears. "I'm gonna lose this account. My uncle is going to kill me. He trusted me to run this right, and Drew said you'd just sign. He promised." She kept talking, voice breaking in waves, until the voicemail cut off at 2 minutes. I didn't respond. I did, however, draft a reply, not to send, just to get the words right. "I'm not your light. I was the generator you unplugged and forgot to thank, and now the whole building's dark." At 5:12 p.m., a blocked number again. I let it ring once, and twice. Then I answered. "Barbara?" Drew's voice sounded like it had aged 10 years and 24 hours. "I'm enjoying the quiet," I said, sipping tea on the porch, wrapped in a fleece blanket, the cat curled at my feet. No Slack, no pinging, no meetings full of children trying to rename things they don't understand. He exhaled, audibly relieved that I hadn't hung up. "Listen," he said, "we need you. I know I made some miscalculations." That's an elegant word for screwed up. He swallowed. I could hear it. "I'm asking formally for you to return today, just for the signing." I let the silence drag long and cold. Then I said, "I'll consider a return on terms." "What kind of terms?" "Triple my hourly. 1-week independent consulting contract. No emails. You send a courier with documents and a written apology." He laughed, nervous, like he thought I was joking. "I'm not kidding," I said flatly. "Apology must be signed by you, Lindsay, and Cameron. You'll hand-deliver it with the check." "Barbara, this is extortion." "No," I replied. "This is how adults fix mistakes. You cut me out to prove a point. Now I'm the point." He was quiet. Then, okay, I'll draft something. Make sure the paper is thick. The kind that feels expensive between your fingers." He laughed again, this time without humor. "Is that all?" "One more thing," I added. "Lindsay's not allowed within 10 feet of me. Ever again." "Understood." I hung up. Minerva blinked up at me like she knew something was ending. Control had shifted. The tide was in. And I was already building the terms of my return like a queen laying siege with ink instead of blood. 2 days later, I walked through the glass doors of Kepler Moss not as an employee, but as a contractor. No badge, no desk, no HR orientation. Just a manila folder in my hand, and the weight of 17 years lifted off my shoulders like a winter coat I didn't plan to wear again. My name was no longer in the org chart, but it didn't matter because now it was on the invoice. Triple my former hourly rate, 1-week engagement. Purpose, contractual signature authorization. That's what the consulting agreement said. I made sure legal printed it on thick linen cardstock. Kind you use for weddings and lawsuits. A receptionist I didn't recognize tried to hand me a visitor's badge. I waved it off. "I'm only here for one signature," I said. "Mine." The exec floor looked smaller now, like the ceiling had dropped. The fake modern art on the walls felt even faker. I walked through the halls like a ghost in reverse, once invisible, now undeniable. Eyes followed me from every glass-walled conference room. Slack probably lit up like a Christmas tree. At the front desk of legal, a courier envelope waited for me. Inside, the apology letter, typed, centered, signed at the bottom in blue ink. We, the undersigned, formally acknowledge the critical contributions of Barbara K. Fulton to the Grayson defense account and recognize her exclusive authority, as defined in Clause 11.2, to execute this renewal. Without her, this firm would not have retained its most long-standing strategic client. Signed, Cameron Moss CEO, Drew Thompson VP Strategic Accounts, Lindsay Ross Director. Brand Strategy. Lindsay's signature was a jagged squiggle, like the pen had resisted. I folded the letter once cleanly and slid it into my coat pocket. Drew appeared just as I rounded the corner toward the executive suite. "Barbara," he said, breathless, like he jogged through the building rehearsing his lines. I wanted to say, I know an apology doesn't cover everything, but I truly didn't realize how I walked past him. No pause, no nod, not even eye contact. Apologies are nice, but written ones are billable. At the door to the boardroom, Mandy from legal greeted me with a smile I hadn't seen in years. "Grayson's waiting." "Joel brought the original copy. They want your pen." "Do they have coffee? Hot, black. No foam art." "Perfect." Inside the boardroom, Joel stood at the window, hands clasped behind his back. When he turned, he smiled, a real one. "Barbara, you look well. I feel expensive," I replied. He laughed, then slid the folder across the table. The contract was open to the signature page. My name still pre-printed, bold as ever. I picked up the pen, signed with one deliberate stroke. Joel nodded. "On behalf of Grayson Defense, thank you for maintaining continuity when others tried to rewrite it." "I don't maintain continuity," I said, standing. "I am the continuity." The room didn't applaud, they didn't have to. Vindication doesn't need a standing ovation. It needs a signature and a check that clears. As I left the building, a junior analyst whispered to a colleague, "Is that Barbara?" The other replied, "She's the one who saved the Grayson account." Wrong tense. I was the one. Now I was something else entirely. And for the first time in years, I didn't belong to that building. I built it. 2 days later, they held a formal signing ceremony in the executive boardroom, one of those sterile corporate rituals where everyone dresses up like a bigger version of their LinkedIn photo and pretends PowerPoint slides are sacred scripture. Grayson Defense was there in full. Joel, their general counsel, 2 new faces from procurement, even a government liaison in a gray suit with a lapel pin that screamed classified clearance and zero humor. The Kepler Moss execs looked like they'd just crawled out of a PR crisis. Cameron Moss had traded his usual swagger for rigid politeness. Drew wore a new shirt that still had a fold crease down the sleeve. Lindsay was there too, slouched behind her branded MacBook, trying to look engaged while visibly swallowing regret like bad cough syrup. I entered at exactly 9:00 a.m. Coat folded over one arm, folder in hand. No fanfare, no smile, just the sound of my heels on the tile like a metronome of inevitability. Joel nodded. "Shall we?" I sat down. The contract was already laid out, warm from the copier. The signature block hadn't changed. Same name, same clause, my name still printed in all caps like a warning label. I signed. One clean stroke. Silence followed. Not out of confusion, but reverence. The deal was done. Kepler Moss had just been saved from its own stupidity, and everyone in the room knew it. I reached into my folder and pulled out 5 holiday cards, thick stock, deep red, gold trim. Grayson's logo embossed on the front. Inside, each was handwritten in pen to continuity. To remembering who built the bridge before you try to walk across it. Barbara, I passed them across the table. Joel smiled again, tucked his card into his briefcase like it was a national security artifact. Then I stood. Cameron rose quickly, clearly eager to shift the tone. "Barbara, if I may, on behalf of the entire leadership team, I just want to say," I held up one hand. "You said I was off the roster," I said, voice steady, clear. "You were right." A pause. I glanced around the room once more. At Drew, now staring at his phone like it could erase the past. At Lindsay, who wouldn't meet my eyes. I just made my own. I turned and walked out. No applause, no standing ovation. Just the quiet understanding that something had ended and something far more permanent had been written in its place. As I passed the receptionist, she asked, "Should I validate your parking?" "No need," I said. "They're paying for the whole damn lot now." Outside, the wind was sharp, clean. I pulled on my coat, slid the apology letter deeper into my inner pocket, and walked down the street like a woman no longer tethered to anyone else's table. They can keep the roster. I own the contract. Big thanks for watching, you sneaky seniors. Subscribe to keep the coffee pot brewing revenge. Your ex-colleagues won't know what hit 'em.